came back to them and said, you know, if you took the components and put them on their side, you could feed the X-ray through with just a couple of pinch rollers past the scan head, and gravity would do the rest, and you'd take up about half as much space, which is exactly what they did. It turns out that changing that and getting rid of the tracking mechanism saved them 30% in the product costs. And they assumed a 75% market share in 18 months after their introduction. And they're still making X-ray scanning machines. Of course, they're going to run out of X-rays too, so hopefully we'll do something. Anyway, feasibility.
So really cool stuff that sort of Peter was talking about, this whole innovation idea and how do you get creative. So once you have that ideation piece or that idea, what do, right? What are the obvious questions that you're going to ask yourself? First thing, right? What's the market? I have to validate this market somehow, right? Got a really good idea, but if nobody buys it, do I really have anything, right? Second thing is, I may have a prototype or I may have some concept of what this looks like, but can I really scale this up and make the quantities that folks are going to need at some level, at a production scale level? So obvious questions, you know, when you go through this process of product development, and that's really where this service comes in. You know, this is fed by ideation. So somebody has an idea, somebody created a really cool widget, and they want to really just go out and try to do something different at their company or as an entrepreneur. So what we have and what we've developed through RTI, and we'll get into a little bit more about who they are, is technology research programs. And what we're going to go through here in the next 20 minutes or so is sort of some background on those programs and services that we're offering our client base and folks like you to kind of take the next step. So before I get started, sort of a little bit about who we are, and Mark did a really good job of sort of defining who MRC is with DVIRC. We're sister organizations, sort of one and the same, that share best practices. But a little bit about me, engineering by degree, spent half of my career sort of in the R&D and engineering space with a small chemical company, Hercules, out of Delaware. Ran the global engineering group for them, and then about halfway through my career, took the step into executive management when sort of finished up as president and CEO for a plastics company up in New England. I have to show a picture of my kids because it's one of the very few that shows that they actually like each other at some level. You know, they're getting older now, and there's very few of those, so I have to show that. So my background, again, you know, has been very technical. My early experiences in the world of you know, getting paid has been with technology and R&D. And then, you know, the second half, obviously, through executive management. And I think what that gives is a little bit of perspective of, you know, what's it take technically and from an engineering perspective to do something, but what's the business piece too? I mean, because you can't have one without the other, right? You know, and as a sort of recovering engineer, I guess, you know, a room full of engineers have a different idea of success than a room full of CEOs, right? So you sort of have to play the balance game when you start to look about how am I going to take innovation and drive my company. So it's sort of served me well, certainly in this role and in these services, to sort of, you know, ask the right questions from both the business and technical side. So who's our partner? And Mark mentioned them a little bit, the Research Triangle Institute. They are the second largest advanced research firm in the world. They were genesised out of NASA. To really, when NASA invents anything cool, they have to make it available to the private sector. So they formed this group, RTI, to sort of do that, be that conduit from the lab to the street, to industry, so to speak. So, you know, about 50 years ago they were formed, but over the years they really started to broaden their science depth. So they've really expanded. They've expanded around the globe. And they're into a lot of different things other than, just sort of widget invention. They're out to really improve the human condition. So they're very recognized around the globe, very powerful group. A lot of smart people walking around on the campus in North Carolina. But since then, they've really spread out around the globe. And each of these centers was sort of strategically picked because of what technology was going on in the region. Abu Dhabi's big energy part of the world today. So obviously they wanted to have a presence because they play pretty heavily in energy, so they have an office there. Like Mark mentioned, this was back in '07, close to 2,700 to close to 3,000 employees now. A good variety of them are PhDs. About $700 million in revenue. And so when you think of this, and I had this question initially, is sort of, why us? Why does this group want to work with us? Well, when you look at sort of their funding, and this is how they, the clients they serve, and if you look up here, this is sort of all the government, right? So they're being funded by the government to really work on stuff for the government. So there's this little piece, this red piece right here, which is the commercial sector, which is us, right? Which is all of you in the room, all the clients that we serve, everything that our network stands for, sort of serves this piece of the pie. So administration and a couple other folks said, well, we're dumping a lot of money in this for us. But what we really need to do, and how we really create jobs, and how do we get companies to keep innovating, to get the momentum back to innovate, is we got to take all these really smart people that are on our payroll and get this piece of the pie to double. So what better way to do that than to find folks like DVIRC, like MRC, like the MEP network, to go out and touch all of these small, medium-sized enterprises to really bring the horsepower and talent that they have to the street to get innovation back on track and to start creating jobs. So if you can imagine, one of my earlier comments is a bunch of PhDs, right? Well, they're, for them to go out and touch all of you, and help you with your innovation services and the things you do, is very difficult for them because it's not how they do it, right? It's not how they work. So they have partnered, like to Mark's point, with us, contractually to offer the horsepower to the client. So not only do they help really with innovation and really trying to help get companies to the next level, they actually do inventions as well. They actually invented the wind shear detector that's on just about every aircraft in the world, the cochlear implant, and sort of in their minds, their biggest failure is they invented Taxol, which is the largest selling cancer drug in the world. But when they developed it, they didn't protect it. So they didn't make any licensing fees or anything or royalties on that. So, it's over $1 billion in sales a year that's free to anybody that knows how to make it. So, again, they're in a variety of different things. And through them, there's a few ways that we tap into RTI to help companies on the innovative front. And really there's three programs that we're going to talk about today. One is technology-driven market intelligence, which is, as it says, a top-line revenue-focused market validation type program. The second is technology scouting, which is the polar opposite, really, of technology market intelligence. And then the third is IP landscaping, which, like it says, is creating a landscape and a strategy around intellectual property. So we talked a little about who RTI is and what they do. They play in all of these sciences, and they have not only vast experiences in doing work in all of these, but they actually have groups at the different campuses that focus on environmental, advanced materials, energy. So not only do they have experience in it, they have staff that's experienced in it. And typically they are of the PhD level, certainly have master's degree, written papers, recognized folks in each of these. So there's really, when they started out in defense, it was all sort of military stuff, but now they've grown to include all of these sciences. So there's really not a lot that we have a need for that they don't have experts that can help us with. And the beauty of it is that, you know, we have that, we make that available to you. So, so again, you know, a lot of different areas to cover. Why does it work? Well, when you look at, you know, when you have ideation or you have a need, there's solutions everywhere, right? And when we look at this chart, sort of the center, you know, spheres are sort of the easy ones to find, and the ones on the outer rim are harder to get to. So, you know, higher barriers to entry, not as easily adaptable to most companies. So when you have an idea and you want to go find a technology solution, you know, you sit down and you Google, right? I mean, why not, right? So you type in a couple keywords, and after about the 2000th page, right, you might get something that's relevant, right? So not very useful, but you'll capture a couple, right? I mean, we've all done it. We've all found a couple of cool things, right, through Google when we type in, if we get the right keyword, right? So that works, but most people don't have access, or most companies don't have access beyond that. You know, they don't have the network of professionals, the network of technology like we do. So we come in, and MEP is sort of DVIRC, MRC, and stand on your shoulders and utilize our nationwide network of 60 different centers who touch thousands of different companies and thousands of different technologies and, you know, emerging and commercial technologies that are out there. And so we're able to capture a few more, right? But those may not be the really good ones, right? You know, a lot of companies that, you know, they read Popular Mechanics and they say, boy, I'd really love to have that, you know, in my factory, or have that ability, and then they just kind of close it up and throw it back on the coffee table, right? Because they don't have any way of getting it. You know, how am I going to do that? Nobody's going to call me back, right, that has that technology. Well, that's where RTI comes in. You know, they sort of stand on our shoulders through their extensive network of experts and scientists, and they really bring in the real good solutions. So, you know, again, when you start looking at, you know, the spheres of knowledge, they sort of grow. And I always get in trouble because I pick on Quakertown a lot, but there's a, you know, 5-person machine shop in Quakertown now has access to RTI, right? There's a company now that has a very good technology, but again, read Popular Mechanics, would love to do it, but don't know how to get it, right? So we come in, and through this conduit, we're bringing these really smart people to that group, and, you know, 2 years later, you know, they're up and running with a totally new technology and a new platform. So, you know, very reasonable. You know, I would say that, I mean, it's not all of our clients, but most of our clients, if they called RTI, probably wouldn't get a call back. It's just that, you know, there's just that difference in who they like to work with. But if we do, and we call on your behalf, or we introduce them to you, then they will engage with you. And that's the beauty of the relationship between DVIRC and RTI, is that we're able to bring them to you where normally it might be frustrating for you to sort of access that type of talent. You know, market opportunities that leverage technology differentiation. So it's not your traditional market intelligence. It's not, you know, I make a mousetrap, I want to go sell more mousetraps. It's, I have a mousetrap that has a unique technology differentiator. You know, it's made with an optical coupler that entrances the mice so they don't ever come into my house again, right? That's different. So we're going to go out and try to find out marketplaces for that product based on that technology differentiation. So a little different than traditional market intelligence, and we certainly have those programs for new markets, but this is a little bit different. And really, just to clarify a little bit, you know, market intelligence is the synthesis of information for product recommendations, and the technology part considers the technical factors that enable, you know, your product or your service to be beneficial to the market. So again, market intelligence is this, you know, we just add the layer of the technology on top of it. So it's a little different than just doing market research. So why would you need TDMI? You develop a new product that has really neat characteristics, And you know, this is the 3M sticky note, right? It comes out of the machine and it's maybe got properties that you don't, wow, that's really neat. I didn't expect that, but boy, that could be useful somewhere. And you just want to know, where should I go with this? What markets will find this very beneficial that I can get into, that maybe I can protect in that marketplace? What are the barriers to entry? What are the competitors? How hard is it to do?